So, I got this thing to fire up, finally. I didn't record any of the process leading to it because I knew it would be a very bad process. And I didn't want to because something like wiring is insanely boring. There's really not much I can tell you. Just, there's a lot of sensors and I forgot a lot. And I was chasing this problem for, I think, almost a full week now. But it ended up being a sensor all the way back there, right behind the head, that I forgot, which is the cam position sensor. At first I forgot the crank, and I was like, oop, that's it. Plugged it in, still nothing happened. But turns out, forgot the cam. I thought I had it plugged in because I thought the cam position sensor was totally something else. The wiring looks insanely messy right now, because the way he ran it basically was like it all entered the car through the middle, through there. Instead I'm doing it around the side. It's my fancy dipstick I got. Have to install. But yeah, we only idled it for like a bit, mainly due to the fact that the alternator, obviously there's no belt here, so the alternator isn't charging the battery, and the battery was already going flat. Like, to fire it up I had to connect. We had to run a crazy long extension cable from her Subaru to the battery in the back to have enough cranking. But yeah, I mean, got her done finally. Thanks to my buddy Andrew, who came. He's actually a Pro 2 driver, which is the thing for Formula Drift. He's competing with Adam LZ actually in Pro 2. He's pretty cool. He has a built LS by Lingenfelter that makes like 700 horsepower NA. But I don't really know what else to say. That's all the wiring. I guess I'll come over to that side and kind of explain it to you guys. Because I know there's a lot of guys that for some reason want to see the little things in this car, and I really don't understand why, because it's a total pain. And it's hard to explain without context. So let me just disconnect the battery, just because it goes flat. Basically, this is my amazing wiring. No, I'm kidding. Once again, this was all just done just to make it run. I am going to clean this up, obviously, but basically there's two main buttons to start this thing. There's this, which is power. Nothing happens right now because I just disconnected the battery. But this gives power to the main fuse block and fuses, which gives ECU power, and it gives power to the fuel relay, which has a wire that runs back to the fuel pump right there. As you can see, that wire. Once again, nothing's tucked. This is just function right now. And once you do that, then there's a button right here called the starter signal, and this is just a push button. It's temporary. You know, when you press it, it completes the signal, and basically that goes to the starter. The main power wire runs to the firewall like it does OEM, and right there I tee it off into this, which is a 250 amp fuse, and through there all the other 12 volt power comes out of, meaning this wire right here is for the ECU fuse box power, the other one is a switched power wire to power up the ECU, and the other one is for the starter. While this one, through the firewall, comes through the firewall, you can see that grommet right there, that rubber one, comes through, and that goes to the starter. P.S. the starter is absolutely horrifying to reach on this car. But other than that, that's really it. I would fire it up for you guys right now, but another reason why I didn't want to fire it too long is it's really not good for the transmission because there's no transmission fluid in there right now. And the input shaft still spins, whether it's in gear or not. So I'd rather not idle it. Plus, like I said, no battery charge. Plus, within probably, well, not a minute, because it has no thermostat, but either way, the engine would get hot after like a minute or two. So I don't exactly want to do that, but at least now I can continue working on my car, because that's what was holding me up from doing the other stuff, because I was like, I don't want to do anything else to this car until it runs, because that was the main, drive factor behind it. Why would I continue to work on it if it doesn't run? But besides that, under here, I'll show you the fuel setup, and it's gonna be it's over there. It's a Corvette fuel filter, which doubles as a regulator. So there's one line that comes in the thing, and then there's a return line, which is looped because I think it's too long. Yeah, it's too long. And then from there, it just goes on a hose that runs, and that goes to here. That comes up through here, as you can see. And that goes to my fuel rail, which I don't know if I showed you guys or not, but I mentioned how I was going to get a fuel rail, so this is like a nice aftermarket one. There's a cool braided hose that goes across, and yeah, that's really it for the most part. The engine sounds insane in the video. For one, it's really rich, not the tune, but just how it ran. Because the way it ran. When I was cranking without the camshaft sensor, there was spark and there was fuel, but it was happening in the wrong cylinders because it had no idea where the camshaft was. So the cylinders were actually very flooded because I changed the spark plugs and I took them out and they were wet with fuel. And this whole garage reeked with fuel every time I would start. So the first fire up, which I didn't get on video because I didn't even know it was gonna fire, but Andrew was holding the throttle wide open and it hit like 4K RPMs and it was like the loudest noise ever. And my bike when it was straight piped is still pretty loud, but that was louder. And then basically from there we started recording. So the next two startups were basically just we fired it and then he'd let go of the throttle, which is like the easiest way to stall an engine, especially when it has too much fuel, is by having the throttle open and then just closing it. But then the last time I told him to just keep it 20% and then slowly let go of it, and that's what he did. And then it was able to, after idling for like maybe 5 to 10 seconds or running, it was able to hold its own idle, which is good. Once again, rich, but the engine runs rich when it's cold. I don't know if you know, but cold starts are usually rich, and it's a higher RPM. It's like 1200 RPM because of the idle air control valve. So now I have a few things to do with getting the front lower control arms bolted up, the coilovers on. I need to run the front brake lines to the caliper. Then I can bleed all the brakes. I can attach the clutch lines to where they belong, to the clutch. I can bleed the clutch and make that work. And then I have no gas pedal right now, but Dan is going to send me his gas pedal from his S13 with the cable. So I'm just going to bolt that into the floor and just use that as a gas pedal because I don't have a, like I said, BMW's fly-by-wire. But and then other than that, I just need a drive shaft. That's the M3 drive shaft down there. But it should be fairly easy since LS's and T56s and such, they're fairly common around here. Like all the American dudes know what they are. So if I go to like any American drive shaft shop, I just tell them it's a T56 to like a generic 6-bolt flange. I just have to make like an outline of my diff flange, and that's basically really it. Then they'll just fabricate it, and then I just tell them the length, and they'll make it a one-piece steel drive shaft, and hopefully it's like $200 to $300. But either way, I'm out of money right now. I'm waiting until tomorrow's Friday. I'm waiting until a week from tomorrow, where I should get my my money. So then I'll have money to do the drive shaft and to probably buy wheels or something like that. Probably gonna have to finance wheels, sadly, because I want like big 3-piece ones. That's really it. Everything else I technically have in my possession. I mean, it won't have lights, but my point is I can still drive it around the block or something like that without brake lights and such. Like I can still drive it and figure out other issues. Yeah, I'm just glad it got to run because now I'm a little bit more motivated. I mean, I am motivated, but I'm not because I don't know if you see how much I'm sweating, but I think it's 101 degrees Fahrenheit right now. And Saturday, after tomorrow, it's supposed to be like 104. And then like Monday, it's like 108. But then it kind of goes back to 101. But basically, like, it sucks that all the rest of the work left is like right now because it's going to be like 110 and such almost every other day for the next like month or two. This is the peak summer season. This is when like most of the racing doesn't happen here in Arizona, is because they do the racing in like the fall, spring, winter time. But I still ride my bike. I was having some fun on that thing last Sunday, going to Payson. I just want to share that clip with you because it's been about a week since I have posted, and I just wanted to share that my car is running. Once again, I didn't document any of it because, like, when you're, I don't know, in my opinion, when I'm doing stuff like this, I just focus a lot. So, like, it's really hard for me to pick up a camera and be like, oh, I figured out this crank sensor was unplugged, I plug it in, and then nothing happens. And you're like, because this took a week to figure out, which is sad because an LS is a simple motor, but whatever, at least I got it. So yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that, and hopefully you guys are excited for the next video, which is probably just going to be bolting back up the suspension, running lines, bleeding brakes, bleeding clutch, starting it up more. Definitely will start in the next episode since I will be able to buy trans fluid, and I'll probably get a belt on there. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys on the next video.